And this have been always like this at Impact Hub. Like every time I was given challenges I will never thought I could do, but then they say, no, you can do it. I'm like, oh, okay. If you think I can do it, like, okay, let's try. And then, like, I got given a lot of confidence, a lot of responsibility very early on at Impact Hub, and I was super grateful for this. And every time, like, I would say, like, I also went out of Cambodia to join some conferences in Malaysia or like in Bali, and meeting other people doing the same job but in other ecosystem. I was like, oh my god, this is so incredible. And every time I was coming back, like, oh my god, okay, we need to do this. So I feel like exposure trip is so critical for you to see another perspective. And like then move to like, I would say more the turning point was 4 years ago almost, when actually the co-founder of Impact Hub decided to go back to Europe, and then he gave me the responsibility of Impact Hub with Olivia, one of my first colleagues back then. And so it was such a like big moment for us, because we're like, oh my god, this is our baby now. And now we can like it's up to us also what we want to do in the future and how we want to shape the culture of Impact Hub. And it was such a lot of responsibility when I was like 25, 26 years old, and I was like, wow, I feel like so empowered at this time, like to have so much like responsibility, but it was also a lot of pressure, I would say. But and so finally I would say like I could like kind of like be an entrepreneur myself, like, because I would say Impact Hub is a startup helping startup in somehow. So it's like, and I felt less this kind of imposter syndrome, because I had it like for so many years before, of like, I am really legitimate as a foreigner, so young, like never run my own startup, and then like, but I found then like I could overcome this imposter syndrome, I would say, by just like also like listening to the entrepreneurs about like how they were grateful for me to be here, and how more like I think I have very good listening skills for the entrepreneurs, and have very I try to find like already my cheerleading support was like what they were very grateful for, and no need for me to be an expert at this point. When I was starting, already like only the emotional support was something that they were missing, and that was very helpful for them. And then I start like building up more like my skills, I would say, properly in my business management, like over the years, just by running Impact Hub and seeing it as a business as well. And then I could better support the teams, and I would say now 7 years later, now I feel confident. Only now I can say this, like I can really help an entrepreneur in Cambodia, thanks to all the experience, thanks to all the stories, thanks to all the like the different things I learned along the way as well.
Nice. Thank you so much. I think there's so many areas that we will dig deeper, as you mentioned, right? So I think the first phase is more about discovery and learning. And then you started as communications, support, and then community management, and then moved on to startup support, and also taking more responsibility. So so let's focus, let's start from the first part, like learning and discovery phase. And it sounds like it's like after, it's around from your year 1 to year 3, right? Your learning and discovery phase. And I think a lot of our listeners are also at that stage. So let's dig deeper into that phase. So during the learning exploration stage, what are some of the things that you did that later on you realize it actually built the pathway to the transition? Or some of the things that maybe that you've allowed yourself to do that, you know, the things that you learn and absorb very quickly.
Yeah, I think I want to talk about like the first project I was given. Like, so actually back then it was, so the co-founder actually were getting married in Italy, and then we were like, I've been here only like 3 months or 2 months, and then they say, okay, we're getting married in Italy, see you in 2 months. I was like, okay. Like, so we were like just 2 interns, and we're like, okay, so let's manage Impact Hub as much as we can. Like, so already like given so much responsibility from the beginning, and like very empowering time as well. And yeah, I think when you leave someone with the responsibility, like it's accelerator. Like I would say, like when someone tell you like, I believe in you, even if maybe they didn't believe back then, but just the fact of saying I believe in you is like, okay. I will do my best. And then like, so we were giving this program, it's a partnership between the MIT and Impact Hub Global with a theory U actually. And like, so I don't know if you're familiar, but like, so basically a theory like that kind of like kind of put a framework on like how transformation can happen at an individual level or like more as a system level. And they describe this transformation that has to go through 3 phases. My first, like a sensing part where you just like discover your reality. You learn about deep listening, about like really understanding beyond what you hear, I would say. Then you have more like this like root connection phase where you reflect more about yourself as a leader, what you can do, what's your power and what's your will, and what do you want to do. And then you have this prototyping phase where you start small something but you get started. And back then, actually, when I get familiar with this theory, I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. This is very deep. But this is a bit too high level. So it was so hard for me to understand it. I was like, okay, how can I now make a workshop out of it and train people in Cambodia about it? So I was like, okay, let's simplify it. And then I found like, okay, 3 words only could describe this process. That was a bit more simplified. I would say it's more like inspiration, introspection, action. So before getting started, you have to know that something is existing. Then you have to know about yourself, that you can do it, you have the skills, and then action. You get started, you start small, but you start. And then I found it like, okay, now I understand. Okay, now let me design something. So I kind of created something, and then I sent it to the MIT, like some like insight from the ground, because they were asking like, okay, what's happening in the ground? So I'm like, okay. And then they're like, this is fantastic from Impact Hub Phnom Penh. Like, really, thank you for your great example about like a great exercise that you designed. And I was like, wow, so cool. I can be actually like, be recognized for it, and so this is so cool. And then I was like, wow, so actually maybe I have some kind of talent in simplifying things. And then I was like, oh, this is great. And then I realized like the more I was joining a lot of events, and sometimes I was like, oh my God, but why so complicated? And then but I was like, so yeah, simplifying is actually something hard.
Right.
Like, it's really like, I feel like you need to study a lot to actually go back to, like, some people say, I feel like some people get lost in loving complicating things, but when you just stay with your complicated words, you can't touch people's heart. You can't connect with people. You just like create a division between people, and people feel stupid, or like people feel like I am really like stupid, or I don't understand. So then, and this is also what I feel like when you talk with entrepreneurs, don't make it complicated. Like, it's no point of making things complicated. Like, use metaphor, use like simple words, and like when you teach anyone, when you like facilitate anyone, like you don't want to have a feeling where people are like, oh my god, am I stupid, or I don't understand. Like, this is the worst feeling as a participant. So yeah. So I always feel like, okay, how to make complicated things simple things to understand. And yeah, so this was like, I think a good learning at early stage. And then I felt also that, yeah, I learned a quote from Jack Ma that say like, when you're in your 20s, don't choose a job, choose a boss.
Ooh.
And then when you're in your 30s, okay, start a business.
Oh.
Because it's
Okay.
like it's like you have enough experience, but you are still like not so like don't have too many responsibilities yet in terms of like mortgage or like family commitment. And then like when you're in your 40s, hire young people.
Oh.
And then in your 50s, work for young people.
Wow.
And used to, I like, if you can put Lifeline, if you can put this video of Jack Ma as a reference, it's such a good video of like advice for career. So yeah, 20s, choose a boss. Like, I think this is so important, because this is like gonna be the first people who are gonna trust you, who are gonna give you much more responsibility than you think you can, gonna kind of be like your launch pad and make you discover many things. And I think like, yeah, like working in a small structure with such an amazing boss at early stage, like, yeah, like being the first employee of a company is so amazing. Because I was one of the first employee of Impact Hub, and I was like, yeah, like, as you say, like I did all the job. And you discover and you grow, and you can design the future you want to see in the company, and never you have this opportunity if you work in a big company. Like, so I'm such an advocate of like work for a small company with amazing boss, with people you admire as a boss. And then yeah, like a lot of my first 3 years, I was just like joining all the meetings with my boss, like just listening. I was like, interesting, this is how you do negotiation. Interesting, this is how you make sales. Interesting, this is how you design a program. Interesting. So I was just like, wow, learning. And then also this is a year where I discover, like, I feel like if I stay only in Phnom Penh, I will only see the Phnom Penh reality. But actually a lot of my entrepreneurs are coming from the province, and like when you go to the province and you only stay in the city in the province, you still don't understand. So what I did was, like, for example, Phnom Penh, which is like the like one of the big celebration in Cambodia, where you celebrate like the people who passed away and you remember them. And so what I did one day was like, I just posted on my Facebook a picture of me dressed with traditional Khmer clothes, and they say, who want to adopt me for Phnom Penh in the family? I can go anywhere, I can sleep on the floor, I can eat anything, just like, I just want to discover.
Yeah. And
this was such an incredible experience. Like, I had so many Cambodian friends who say, oh, come to my hometown, like, da, da, da. And yeah, and I found like this experience so good. I just went by myself with them, and I learned like what the life in the countryside look like. What does it look like to be maybe like growing up with like farmers as parents, and what's the struggle to get education, like what the life-changing opportunity that they got so that they could reach to get the scholarships or something like that. So it's like, oh, I learned so much from this experience that I keep on doing this every year, or just like going like by bicycle, like exploring Cambodia countryside, like sleeping overs at the place of a village chief that were welcoming us. And I would say, this gave me a different reality of Cambodia, and then I was always like sharing about it on my Facebook and everything, and then soon people realized like, oh, she cares and she wants to understand more. And I think like it's also helped build my connection with a lot of youth or entrepreneurs, because they see my genuine desire to know about it. And this, I think it's, and I start also learning Khmer. I went to university every day for 3 months to learn how to speak Khmer and everything. So like, I feel like, one on the day I said like, okay, I'm gonna commit to understand about this country, I just like went to the most I could to really get it. And I think this really pays off. Like, it's really like, put all my connection to the next level, because people like, it's like, no, it's not just a normal parent who just stay and gonna leave one day like, and then doesn't care, just do a job and then doesn't know about it. So I just was I would say I was a sponge. I was like sponge mode.
Trying to absorb as much as you can.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really fascinating.